Welcome back, El Paso, to another episode of Beyond the Stage El Paso. Today, I am joined by a very talented artist, Gil Faction. And normally, I would, give you their breakdown of who they are as a musician, but Gil has the most fascinating way to describe himself. So I'm not going to take that away from him. I'm going to let him go kick it. And just wait till you hear this, Gil. Just give him a taste of who you are.
So basically, man, my name's Gil Faction. I normally play in a rock trio electrically called Single Brass Faction, but now I'm doing my acoustic thing solo. But I would describe my music as rock music with a pinch of country and a splash of whiskey is the best way I could describe it, man.
So how'd you come up with that, man? That's funny.
I grew up listening to like Metallica and the Beatles. And then, like, later on in life, I got to start listening to, like, a little bit of country. And then, like, it's just one of those things where once you appreciate music, you appreciate all genres of music. You know what I mean? Like, I can listen to jazz, rock, country, anything that there's talent behind it. You know what I mean? So, obviously, I drink beer. Obviously, I drink whiskey. I sing a couple songs about whiskey, but those are the three things I sing about: is girls, guns, and whiskey, or booze.
Is that a song of yours? Girls, guns, and whiskey?
No, not yet. Not yet. Maybe sometime in the future. But no, I figure like that's the main things that musicians deal with in their life, because it's like being a musician. It's hard to keep someone around for a long time because it's cool. You know what I mean? Dating the musician right up until that dude has to fucking hit the road or do musician shit. Like it's like, where are you going? I'm like, I got to do some shit. How long is it going to take? As long as it takes. You know what I mean? Like there's no, I don't know how to explain it, and then of course, most musicians have their vices. And I'm like a huge pro Second Amendment kind of dude. So like, I love guns. I love everything about guns. I love the reason they were invented and the things that they're allowed to protect. So that's basically me in a nutshell. You know what I mean? Guns, girls, and whiskey, man, and acoustic guitar and rock and roll, baby. That's just what I do, I guess. I don't know any other way else to explain it.
Man, if that's not the most Wild West explanation of somebody I've ever met, that's too funny, man.
It is, bro.
Gil mentioned it. We are drinking beers today, so if you're over 21, cheers. If you're not,
cheers, man.
You're not allowed to cheers.
Maybe you are.
Yeah, maybe. All right, Gil. So, when did you start? You said you listened to Metallica and stuff growing up, but when did you start actually starting to get into music, playing your guitar, indulging yourself in this kind of atmosphere?
Oh, so this is a great question. Okay, so when I was about 6 or 7 years old, right, my old man used to be a golfer. So he would go out to the golf course here, Escarate golf course or whatever, and him and his boys used to shoot some holes, you know what I mean, come back to the house where we lived, and all his friends would bring like all these amps, and they would just sit on their amps and start singing and playing. And I was like 7 years old. I'd wake up, at 2 a.m. I was like, what the hell is going on? So I'd like peek around the corner, and be like, oh man, what's going on? There's a jam session going. Like, this is cool. And then eventually I would get caught. So somebody in that group would be like, hey, come on, man, join us. And I was like, what? So I was like, all right, cool. So they would sit me on top of a old Fender amp with, you know what I mean, with all these musicians in the room. And I was like, man, I'm destined to be a rock star now. Because it's like, dude, I'm 6 years old. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I didn't know any better. I was like, this is the life, man. These guys are awesome, Yeah. And so ever since then, my dad used to have these old vintage guitars. Well, they're vintage now, not at the time, but in his closet. So when he was at work, I would go into the closet and sneak his guitars out and play them. And then I would hear that car pull up in the driveway, and I'd be like, oh, shit, I got to put one back till I got caught again. I'm not a very good criminal, which is one of the songs I'll be playing tonight. But so I used to put them back. I got caught, and then one morning I woke up, and there was a acoustic guitar sitting in my room because he was tired of me playing his. So he's like, play your own damn guitar. So it was like that. I mean, it was really at an early age, and it's like, okay, I have this guitar, but I need electric, Dad. I got electric, but I need two, Dad. You know what I mean? And it just turned into like this ridiculousness that you see now.
Wow, man. So think back. Can you remember the first song you started to play? Can you think of like, man, that's a song I need to learn, and you picked up the guitar and you decided to figure it out?
Yeah. So early on, after I learned my fundamentals and, you know what I mean, that keep my spurs from jangling. I heard two guitar players. One of them was B.B. King. The other one was Steve Ray Vaughan. Once I heard Steve Ray Vaughan, I went and bought the same Strat, tried to get a left-handed bridge. That's why the reason why I play 13s. That's why I play heavy strings. That's the reason why I tuned down half a step, was because of that dude. And it's just like, man, if I could sound half as good as that guy, it's going to be all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to have a good time. And so for a long time, I would stay up all night in my little closet playing guitar, you know? And then it was until I heard my dad pounding on my door. He's like, that's enough. He was thinking the electricity bill was like, you know what I mean? The louder he gets, the more I'm paying. So, which wasn't the case, but I was just like, man, this dude, like, I mean, both of them guys, they have two totally different styles, but to hear their styles independently and then together, because it's the same genre in a sense, but it's just like, it was like literally, like, I don't have no hair, but, well, kind of, but it literally like blew my mind to know that you can take it from that to that and still be as passionate about each of them. And so I was like, ever since then, I was enthralled with the blues to like Robert Johnson. Then I started getting into jazz through a mutual friend. But it just like, that opened up my whole world as far as like what could be done with music, you know?
Yeah.
It was just an interesting aspect of it, you know, to really realize that it's the same, but it's different.
No, yeah.
But the thing is, what was the thing that made it different was their own personal style. So from that point on, I made it a point not to learn other people's songs. It's just to try to figure out how to write my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I purposely didn't, you know, I stayed away from certain music that I know that I would gravitate to.
No.
So I wouldn't sound like it. You know what I mean? Because I wanted to do my own thing in a sense. So that's basically how that started.
So you said a couple things that kind of intrigued me a little bit, but one thing that you had mentioned is that you didn't. Well, you kind of started writing you wanted to start writing your own songs. What age did you start like doing that? Did you start writing songs really early on, or were you kind of in your teens?
Well, it was pre-teen for sure, and it wasn't really songs because I was too afraid to sing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I felt so self-conscious about singing that I would just write like riffs or, hey, let's turn this into a song. And then I had put a little band together and let's make some songs out of these riffs. But we need a real singer, you know what I mean? Not me. So I did that for many years. Ended up getting signed to an independent label at 17. We cut like 2 tracks at this really, I don't even know if it still exists, but it's like, I can't remember the damn name of the damn studio, but it was like really like, I want to say it's like Omasia or something. Like it was a really, I'd have to research it now, shit. But anyway, the independent label that signed us signed 6 bands to do 2 songs each. And then we were supposed to like hit the road as a traveling 6-pack, which is not far from what's happening these days. But that's you know, that ended up fizzling out, and then we were supposed to like then the focus became on my other band, which was called Drown at the time, and then we had to change the name to Waterhouse because of I guess some trademarking things or whatever. But then that band fizzled out, and I kind of just dropped out of music for about 10 years. Ended up getting married, doing all that whole domestic stuff.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got divorced, I was like, I'm putting a band back together.
Well,
babe.
now you got material to write new
Yeah,
music.
Exactly. That was like 3 albums right there.
You mentioned something a little earlier when you were talking about yourself, and you mentioned how you learned your fundamentals before you started learning songs. And to me, that's kind of important as a musician, to kind of know where your roots are, where you're supposed to go, learn your instrument, learn everything like that. And that's some advice I've always given to, young artists and things. But is there anything you would kind of recommend to anybody watching or listening who, is maybe younger in age and trying to start out, or, older, who picked up their first guitar because they just retired? Is there something you kind of recommend to them, or like some advice you'd like to give them just to kind of set them in the right direction?
Yeah, for sure, man. One of the and I'm not going to claim to be the advice guru, but I'll tell you this much. The best piece of advice I ever got was, and this is what a lot of, I think, beginning musicians fail to understand, is that they learn a scale and they nail it once, and then they're like, let me move forward. And it's like, nah, keep playing that scale till you can't screw it up. And you just keep working on that scale till you can't screw it up. But then you don't drop that scale. Then you learn something else and incorporate it with that scale. So you keep, to me, musicianship and fundamentals is understanding your building blocks and building upon that foundation, but never losing sight of that foundation. You know what I mean? Because everything boils down to your foundation. And if your foundation is weak, if you've built a foundation on quicksand, everything after that is going to topple down into it. And that's not my words. Those are words that have been passed down to me by great artists and great musicians that I've had the pleasure of working with. But that's the biggest thing that I see nowadays. It's like, oh, I played that perfectly once. Yeah, play it perfectly 10,000 times now. And then move forward. Or whatever, however many times you need to play it.
Yeah.
But don't ever forget that part, because it's part of what helped you become who you are.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I look at.
That's
how I look at practice, and because when I do vocal practices, I still do a major scale. Da 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 da. That's the fundamental of what I do, vocally.
Yeah.
And that's just vocals. You know what I mean? Forget guitar. That's a whole nother story.
There's I'm gonna butcher it, internet, and I know you guys are gonna come at me, but there's like a boxing, somebody once said it, and it was like, practice until you can't get it wrong.
Bruce
and that's
Lee.
Yeah, there we go.
Bruce Lee,
I fucked it up, but somebody knew. But
Bruce Lee.
That's it's funny that you mentioned. That's something I've always carried with me. Just in my years as a professional musician, is like, I don't typically get nervous, but in the situation that I do, I need to know that my hands aren't going to fail me. And,
exactly. You build muscle memory. It's like, I think the phrase was, don't fear the man that practices 10,000 kicks one time. Fear the man that practices one kick 10,000 times.
There we go.
And that right there is because he could do this thing in his sleep. He has a nightmare. You already know the chandelier's getting knocked out. You know what I mean? In the middle of the night, like, what the hell was that? The ceiling fan's like, you know what I mean? Because it's like, you just know this thing in your sleep. And that's one of the things that I've had to, I didn't have to, I guess, but that's one of the things that I've developed being a musician. And the fact that I do enjoy, drinking alcohol or whatever, is that I still need to be able to play whether I'm buzzing or not. You know what I mean? And that's why I play a lot of times the same songs every time, because I know I can play them in my sleep. I know I can play them if I'm awake. I know I can play them at all times. It's just there. I almost can't even forget them if I wanted to, but it does happen. It does happen.
So, are you an El Paso native? When did you move here? How'd that work? How'd you end up here?
So that was a good question. So I was born and raised here in El Paso. I was born in 76. And then when I turned 21, I think I moved to Phoenix and Mesa, Tempe area for a year. And then I spent about 23 years in Vegas, man.
Oh, wow.
And that was a whole nother. It seems like a lifetime ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. But that's where like the original Single Brass Faction originated. Was I had a drummer from Philly, guitar player turned bassist from Georgia, and we never played any shows because we were stupid. But straight up, we were stupid. But then, like, I started taking it a lot more seriously, and I ended up with a upright bass player and probably about 20 drummers. And we just, like, we started playing. I think our first show was just as a duo. It was me and the upright bassist. His name was Rob. And our first show was Margaritaville at the Flamingo, man. And where I was, like... It was like an open mic type of situation, so we only got to play 3 songs, which is good because we only knew 4. But what was cool is I didn't realize is that Rob's wife went outside, or somebody went outside. I can't remember who, but they're like, "Hey, they're playing you on the strip." Like they had speakers along the outside of the Flamingo playing on the strip. So we were like, while we were playing, it was being broadcasted on the strip, and I was like. Well, hell, that was a hell of a good show.
Yeah.
That was a cool experience that I didn't even realize till afterward. But
man,
I thought that was cool.
That is cool. It's funny because you would have never known either.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. unless someone told me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is typically the case with me.
So, what made you leave Vegas? Why'd you come back?
Oh, man, that's a hard story to tell, but I'm going to tell it anyway. Oh. So, anyway, I went through like... We did a lot of things as a band in Vegas. I mean, I've done a lot of cool shows. I've done a lot of cool things, a lot of cool experiences. I got to play the Whiskey when I was living there in L.A. But I ended up, what's that? Being in an entanglement with a very toxic...
Welcome to the round table.
With a very toxic person. Ended up calling the police on me. And this is I got to tell this story. So this is a funny story. So she ended up calling the police on me, trying to get me arrested for whatever reason. And so I'm sitting in the backyard. Back then I used to smoke. So I'm having a smoke, drinking a PBR. And like 5 cops come to the backyard. One of them with like a full on like Steven Spielberg camera. And you know what I mean? It was just like crazy. So I was like... These guys rolling. I was like, "How's it going?" I was like, "Well, damn, man. If I would have known you guys were coming through, I would have put some stakes on. What's going on here?" So we ended up having our little discussion, and she was just. I don't really want to paint anyone in bad light, but she was bitter. It was toward the end of that whole situation, and then I just realized, like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe I just need to start over, move back. Closer to my son. He lives here in El Paso. And try to rebuild what I had screwed up for many years before. You know what I mean? Just being who I am. It's like living 850 miles away from your son's roof already. Yeah. And then trying to be consistent was one of my biggest downfalls, you know, with him. So I still keep trying, but it's just one of those hard things. But anyway. He's actually on I have a little voice clip of him on the first track on the new record, which is called Lands and Grooves. And what he says on the track or on his little clip is, "What's up, bozo?" or something like that. But he has like a little, like a high pitched voice. So he says, "What's up, bozo?" And then I start the song, but I feel like I had to include him just because, you know, first of all, it's my son. So second of all, you know, he may not appreciate it now, but hopefully he'll appreciate it sometime in the future. All right, man. My name is Gil Faction. I'm here at Beyond the Stage Production Studio. This first song's called This Train. I hope you guys like it. Now you can kiss my ass. Wait for signs and invitations, so don't go blaming me. Stuck on words in conversations, don't be condescending. And every time you try to say that I was just in your way, well, you took me for granted. Yeah, you took me for granted. Separate these lines, they got us bound like railroad ties. This train ain't going nowhere. Separate these lines, they got us bound like railroad ties. This train ain't going nowhere. This train ain't going nowhere. I know how I got so good at being misunderstood. Let me know which words I should steal. So just let me explain it. Every time you try to say that I was just in your way, well, you took me for granted. Yeah, you took me for granted. Separate these lines, got us bound like railroad ties. This train ain't going nowhere. Separate these lines, got us bound like railroad ties. This train ain't going nowhere. This train ain't going nowhere. Come on, be on the stage. Sweeter than whiskey on my lips, oh darling, you could be the one. And I don't believe I won't get burned by you underneath this motherfucking Texas sun. Let's separate these lines, got us bound like railroad ties. This train ain't going nowhere. Let's separate these lines, got us bound like railroad ties. This train ain't going nowhere. This train ain't going nowhere. This train ain't going nowhere. This next song is called Criminal, man. Hope you guys like it. Took it from me like a criminal. I couldn't steal it back from you if I wanted to. Doesn't matter how fast I'm trying to go. Lights that are flashing are additional. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you're right. Maybe it's too soon to judge tonight. Maybe we'll just be alright. Maybe it's just the end of our time. Could I even change a criminal? I could handle the pain if you wanted to. My love for you is unconditional. I'm shackled to you, it's not traditional. should know. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you're right. Maybe it's too soon to judge tonight. Maybe we'll just be alright. Maybe it's just the end of our time. Baby, let's stay together in a 6x8 forever. Baby, I'm not going anywhere. We're criminals together. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you're right. Maybe it's too soon to judge tonight. Maybe we'll just be alright. Maybe it's just the end of our time. Baby, let's stay together in a 6x8 forever. Baby, I'm not going anywhere. We're criminals together. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you're right. Maybe it's too soon to judge tonight. Maybe we'll just be alright. Maybe it's just the end of our time. Maybe it's just the end of our time. That's on the record, Lens and Grooves, man. Hope you guys like that one. All right, man. Well, this is a song called Breathless. You have to forgive me. One of my pet peeves is reading lyrics while you're performing the song, but I just kind of wrote this a couple weeks ago, so with all your grace, please forgive me, but I hope you guys like it. If not, you know what to do. Here we go. Breathless. Leave you breathless when I touch you, girl, yeah, you already know. I'll leave you breathless, I'll take my time, I won't rush in, yeah, I'll take it real slow. I'll leave you breathless, I can't wait until you get weak, yeah. I just wanna hold you in my arms tonight. Girl, Gibson guitar, we got our different ways. 2, 3. I'll leave you breathless, I can't wait until you get weak, yeah. I just wanna hold you in my arms tonight, girl. I just wanna hold you in my arms at night, yeah. I just wanna hold you in my arms tonight. I just wanna